Now to sport and rugby. It's been revealed that the Six Nations tournament, which features the national teams of France, Italy, England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland, may be partly sold to a private equity firm. It all comes as the Rugby World Cup starts in Japan this Friday. The latest proposal could see CVC, the former owners of Formula One, take control of 15% of the commercial arm of the tournament. Well, here to tell me more about this is our sports correspondent, Angela Barnes. So, Angela, tell us more about this game-changing deal and possible implications.
Well, the deal would provide a financial boost to each union. But of course, if the deal does go ahead, and it's just in the negotiation stages at the moment, if that deal does go ahead, though, it does mean that they would partly surrender control, which is what World Rugby, the sports governing body, is very concerned about. They talked about it in a press conference in Japan yesterday. We'll come to that in a minute. But first of all, a bit more on the implications of what impact this could have. Now, the question has been raised about whether we'll see the development, the change of format in the Six Nations rugby. There's been that question about whether Georgia could be added to the Six Nations so that it becomes the Seven Nations. There's also been the question of whether the US could come into that. But at the moment, it's all speculative, and it's just with that investment, these are the questions that are coming up again and again. The other thing to think about is if you look at what CVC did when they owned Formula One before they sold it off. I mean, Formula One was available on many free-to-air channels, and then when they took over, a lot of that disappeared. And so there's also that question of whether we'll see that happen with the Six Nations, because of course in Britain it's available to watch on ITV and the BBC, and so it's what impact that will have on the TV rights based on what it did when it took over Formula One. But at the moment, Six Nations is saying that it's vital for the long-term future of the game, and they've refused to comment on it further at the moment.
But what has the leadership of World Rugby had to say about this?
Well, they were speaking at a press conference in Japan yesterday ahead of the Rugby World Cup kicking off there on Friday. And Brett Gosper, who is the chief executive of World Rugby, he did express concerns, as I said. But let's just have a quick listen to what he had to say.
We can't really comment at this stage whether it's going to be good or bad. Certainly someone as big an investor in the sport as a private equity firm like CVC will create influence, and that could be in some areas something that could concern us. And so it's important that we understand from CVC exactly what their medium to long-term plans are.
Well, he did go on to say that it's a bit too early to evaluate what will happen at this stage, but no further deal is expected to be complete until after the Rugby World Cup, which ends on the 2nd of November.
Angela, thank you very much for that.